Beautiful. All right. So thank you everyone for tuning in. My name is Kara Folkerts. I am a core guide with Aspire Adventure Running. And here at Aspire, we definitely are trying to just have equal representation with people on the trail. And not only that, but we're trying to amplify the voices of women. So in doing that, this month, we're kind of focusing on women and having conversations with badass females. So that is just kind of getting more people on the trail, more women doing these outdoor wilderness pursuits. So our first guest that we're going to be doing these interviews with is Jen Segger. I'm really excited to have you here today. I know you personally. We were running together in Costa Rica last year before the world shut down. And yeah, with even just like looking at your bio and knowing you personally, you have done so much in the last 20 plus years with racing. You're a very accomplished adventure race athlete, have done tons and tons of ultras, Ironmans, everything. So I'm really excited to have you here today. So thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. And thanks for that, kind introduction.
Awesome. So this month, as we are focusing on getting more women on the trail, we're actually hosting our annual Women's Adventure Scholarship. And basically that's to encourage more women to get on the trails and have their voices and narratives be heard and amplified, and just us tell our stories and encourage each other. Because I think a lot of the times when people hear stories of people on the trail, it's very much the lone male up against the wilderness and a lot of those stories. And I think that is definitely changing, and we want to be a part of that change and amplifying the voices of women. So with this scholarship, we ask the women 3 separate questions, and I'm going to ask you those 3 questions to start as well. And I guess before that, I'd love to have a little bit of an introduction of yourself from your perspective and see kind of a little bit about you. So yeah, you can just let us go.
Cool. Well, first, let me just say, I think what you guys are doing with the scholarship program and encouraging women to get out there and challenge themselves and experience something new is so important. And I just think it's so great to hear of an initiative like this taking place, because I think people really want to get out there, and women want to have the confidence to, push boundaries and explore more and challenge themselves and see what it's all about. And so to help provide this avenue for people to do that is so great. So good on you guys for doing that. So I guess a little bit about me. It has been, the last 20 years where I've really taken my passion for the trails, for the mountains, and it's sort of become a lifestyle. So I don't really think about it's not something I have to do every day. It's something that has been a part of me, just being active all the time. And then when I was around 20-ish, it just really became clear to me that a life outdoors was for me. And it was just how I found myself being happy and feeling really fulfilled. And I just knew from there that would be the direction my life would take me. So I did began competing. I had been finishing my degree overseas in Australia, and I moved home, and I just knew that I wanted to pursue the sport of adventure racing. And so I moved into the mountains of Whistler, British Columbia. And I had no money at that time, but I knew I was going to find a way to get going in the sport. And so I started working, 3-4 jobs at a time, and I was just racing with whatever team would have me. And I was learning, how to be a strong athlete on foot in the mountains. So my running and my hiking, as well as learning how to mountain bike, and be really good at that technically, and learning how to paddle. So that was sort of the 3 disciplines of adventure racing, and then combined with some navigation. And so I was doing that for quite a few years. And then finally, I decided I wanted to know where I stood as a solo female. So if you took me away from my teammates, which were males, it's typically the format of adventure racing is 4 people, 3 males, 1 female. I wanted to see just where I stood, how far could I push myself? And so I got into ultra running. I signed up on a whim one night. I saw the Marathon des Sables, which is a stage race across Sahara in Morocco,
Not an
and
easy one.
not an easy one, not as your first ultra.
Yeah, exactly.
But I thought, what better way just to throw myself into it and see how it would go. And, sort of from that point there, I was just so hooked. I mean, I crossed that finish line 7 days later, just feeling like I could tackle anything. And so that really then began another sort of avenue of challenge, was just all through ultra running and, using my racing to travel the world and work through all those highs and lows that racing can do. And I kept adventure racing at the side. I challenged myself in mountain bike racing as well. And I just kind of took on everything. Like I started to feel like just invincible. Like I was just so happy. I just wanted more and more and more, because the doors just kept opening. And then sort of through all that, as I was racing and traveling the world, coaching sort of found me. That was, I guess, 15 years ago. People started to come to me and ask how they could get involved, how could they train for something, and sort of through experience, but then also just learning and starting to take courses and everything I could about the human body and endurance principles and how it all would come together. It kind of took me down the career path of becoming an endurance coach. And that has been just absolutely so fulfilling and rewarding. And so I was balancing all that. And then the last sort of 6-7 years, I founded another little avenue, which is really just me pursuing my passion. And that is guiding outdoors and being on the trail and taking people into amazing places. And I've just kind of found this way to like mesh everything together. And it's been a great path so far. It's been fun.
I love that. I'm kind of going to scrap the questions we have right from the start, because it's like, why do you love to run? It's like, hey, right from the start, just hearing all of that. But I was really excited to have this conversation because I was working with you last year with your company, RunBC, and I think RunBC embodies exactly what we're trying to do, which is empowering more women on the trails. And that's what you're doing. And when we were together last February too, it was so evident that you're just this strong force, and you were so inspiring to me and also to the women on the trip. And so inspiring the way that you're just like such a badass athlete. But you also are very humble, and you come across it in such a natural way. And it empowers other people too. So just through your story too, I think that's so incredible. And it's been really cool. Like, even it was so funny because I felt like I knew so much of what you've done. And then I was going on your website, and I've checked it out before, and I know you offer amazing things, but just looking at your accomplishments, you have done so much, like so many FKTs, so many different adventure races, and just placing well and traveling the world. And it's so cool to see you take this passion and just let it explode into other things, and then let those ripple effects be waves of like just really great change for other people and having more women on the trail. So it's really cool to see that. And I'd actually love to hear you talk a little bit about how you kind of realized it was something so much more, like you were saying, you really started getting into it, but then how you really started to like let it become your whole life and your passion, and how you really dug into that. And then even you can talk about your project with RunBC or anything, and kind of in this sweet spot that you're in right now, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think when you realize like just how you like to spend your time, and you realize no matter if you're outside for 20 minutes or like full day adventures, or overnight on a trail or something like that, and you come back feeling so fulfilled, you just want more of it, you know what I mean? And then you start to realize you just want to experience that with other people. And so, different friends, or, with my partner Norm, or as a family, my mom as well. And it all brings me the same joy. It's just because this is just how we love to spend our time, just to be out there. And then I think, just through all that, it just becomes the day in, day out. There's nobody twisting my arm to say, oh, you got to get out for a run now, or like you've got to get on top of the mountain. It's just like, okay, this is just a priority for me, I think.
Totally.
I think I just realized that life is so short, and I want to fill it just by doing things that make me feel good. And yes, that I can pass that on to other people. And so when I realized, one, I love to share the outdoors with people, but two, I guess just that I had a skill set of being confident outside,
Yeah.
learning and having the knowledge of just how to move safely when you go into more remote terrain, how
Yeah.
to piece together, trips or expeditions or adventures that just logistically make sense while being safe out there. And just adds for a more pleasurable experience. Then I just was like, okay, how do I share this with other people? Because I know there's people who maybe they're ultra runners and they want the next type of adventure, but they don't even know where to start with that. Or they're
Yeah.
very confident following flags through the bush, as you do in a race, but going off of course and then being like, okay, well, how do I summit that mountain? Or how do we do this? People were looking for something. And so as more people asked me, okay, well, how do I plan and prepare? I was like, oh, you know what? Like, I would love to just take you on this. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll take you on this adventure and we'll do it together and we'll have that shared experience. Because it's always amazing when you share the outdoors with people.
Yeah.
And then that just kind of from there naturally developed into RunBCAdventures.
Yeah.
And through that, I try to offer different levels of trips and expeditions and experiences to cater to a wide array of people. From the beginner who's like maybe never had a fast pack on before and has never done an overnight on a trail. And
Yeah.
you offer something like that. And then to those that are, going to be really big days and you're going to push yourself from like dawn to dusk kind of stuff. And then it's like, well, where are all these cool trails? Okay, well, they're here in BC. Then there's things like in Costa Rica and there's Patagonia. And like, I've got so many ideas in my head.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like, okay, what can I offer and what makes sense? So
yeah, no, I love it.
it's a long process for me too.
No,
And
exactly.
at the bottom of the end of it, it's a passion project for me. It's not something that I have to do. My coaching keeps me more than busy, but this is a way to share something that I love with other people.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah. And it's evident that you're a really big mentor for a lot of people getting out on the trails now, especially a lot of women. Is that something that as you were getting into adventure racing and trail running and Ironman and all of that, did you feel like you had a mentor or like a really strong support system as you were kind of going through this transition when you were about 20 and to where you are now?
When I first got into realized that this is what I wanted to do, I actually hired a coach at the time in Whistler. Her name was Belle Burke, and I didn't know how to prepare for anything, and she became a great mentor for me. She had a lot of experience just sort of in the endurance realm, but I was sort of taking on races that were a little bit abstract. At the time, these 7-day ultras and things like that was quite new. But she was just somebody that I really looked up to. She was like my sounding board and just so encouraging. And it was always like, yes, like you can do this, you will do this. And so I just didn't have self-doubt. It's not to say that I nailed or crushed everything all the time, because, it's a roller coaster. It is for everybody. There's highs and lows of training and preparing for something, or, just as we experience in a race. But I was always given the confidence to push myself and to say yes to a challenge. And so I just, I didn't see things as impossible. It was just like, yes, I can do this. And I think that just sort of started things from there. And it's just sort of something I've tried to carry with me all the time.
Awesome. No, that's incredible. I guess with that, then having like a female mentor and just like feeling that level of confidence, did you ever feel like there were other like barriers or challenges that you had getting out in wilderness spaces as it pertains to being a woman, or maybe not specifically a woman, but just different challenges that have come up in your life to venture out into these wilderness spaces?
I think what's interesting about that is actually where I feel the most secure and the most confident is actually in the backcountry as opposed to front country.
Yeah.
I'm I'm way more I guess timid, you could say, on urban trails and urban settings as opposed to how I feel in the backcountry. Like the minute I just start to get away from population, I just feel very free. And I feel confident, and I just feel like I'm gonna, thoughts of being unsafe out there don't really go through my mind. But I would say it's more in an urban setting is where like I would feel feel that barrier to being, okay, what would it be like if I, I'm going to run into like a man out here that made me, scared for some reason or something like that. And so I'm just, to me, that's more of an urban type setting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think just through time and through confidence, and experience, I guess, I just developed a skill set to feel good moving, with a headlamp on at night or being out there in the wilderness. And maybe those sort of things start because you're doing them with other people. And the more experience you get, the more you just are like, oh, I could do this by myself. I'm totally comfortable, running at night through some remote trail network with my headlamp on, and I think that's just, it's an experience thing and a time thing. So, I always just encourage people to start with what you're comfortable with and then see where you can maybe just push your boundaries just a little bit.
Yeah, build from there, 100%. So you have a son, right?
Yes.
Do you find, like, how do you balance, I guess, your family life with your running and racing and all of that, and jobs and everything? How do you find the balance with all of that? I'm sure it's an ongoing check-in with yourself and everything.
It really is. And it has been since day one, because I found, being a mom is the most incredible and the most important thing to me in the world. But my partner, Norm, and I also decided from the very beginning, just that we had other goals too, that we wanted to pursue. And we also believed that us tackling goals, even if they were really small, but the fact that we're still setting goals and going after them is just going to show him the importance of that. And so he's very much been brought up just, I guess, in that lifestyle. What we do is also normal to him. I mean, he's been involved. I've had him at races. I've had him, they're cheering. I've just had him surrounded with like-minded people, because that's what I find when I'm at some of these events, right? And I want him to be with people that are challenging themselves. And it's good for him to see the successes, but also the failures. It's just the fact that I was out there and I set a goal, and if I accomplished or I didn't accomplish it, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's the fact that there was a goal set. And so, he's been raised in that world. And now, he's 7 turning 8, and just more doors are opening because these things outside are what we do as a family. And, he's just getting stronger and bigger, and naturally he's just kind of gravitating to them. And I mean, if he chose not to want to be out hiking with us too, I mean, that's totally fine. We're not pushing it, but so far he's absolutely loving it. And so I find a lot of my mindset too shifts now from like the solo, like, my personal goal to like, ooh, what can we do together as a family, And, him and I are going to tackle our first adventure race together later this fall. I mean, all going well, but, we've been talking about it for months. We're starting the planning, so when we go out, we're talking about, how we're going to trek and run together, and he's joining us on little segments, and he loves his mountain bike. And I just want him to be included in it. And then I think from there, we'll just see, as long as he's enjoying it and having fun,
exactly,
we'll keep going with it.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's the way to do it. That's so fantastic. And it sounds like your partner Norm he's a stand-up paddleboard instructor, right? Or
he is, yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like he's very much in that lifestyle too, and just like a power family. I love it.
Well, we try to hold space for each other to, both have our time away, because we also believe, we come back as better people when we've gone out and had those few days to ourselves, to be in nature, to be remote, to be disconnected. That fuels our fire for ourselves. And so we really do try to hold space. I mean, life gets really busy with, both of us being so active, both of us being guides, but it's all just about the communication and trying to understand what each of us needs to thrive. And so we do try to, keep and hold space for each other to do that.
Yeah, exactly. With that, how have you found your running and everything to kind of have to adapt during COVID? I'm sure with like races, and I know a lot of trips and stuff maybe would have had to cancel, but how have you kind of adapted to the last year with everything?
Yeah,
and
luckily,
with your family life.
Yeah, luckily for myself, I didn't have any races on the books for sort of this past year anyways. I was disappointed for a lot of my athletes to see them, not get to do their events, but majority pivoted really well and found other ways to apply their fitness. I guess my pursuit sort of for the last little bit has been a bit more FKT focused, and just personal adventure, like just that long growing list of adventures that I've wanted to tackle in places. So not too much really had to shift for me. And I'm very fortunate to living in Squamish, BC, that, I'm looking out at the trails just right here.
Yeah.
And I just use those trails even probably more than ever as just that outlet and to do things that feel normal. And I realize that not everybody is in positions where, or in locations where, those trails are just that accessible. So yeah, I mean, it has been pretty normal for me. And just outside every single day doing what I've always sort of normally done. And then just, you just sort of change. Maybe there were some trips overseas that I wanted to do, or, not so local. And those are just being pushed back. I mean, it's, they're not off the table forever, but I just then honed in on what could I do? And I tried to make the best of that. So,
yeah, amazing. Yeah, and I guess even like you saying FKTs and everything and focusing on that, you have a lot of crazy, wonderful running accomplishments, but is there any particular race or story or time that's kind of goes as one of your proudest running accomplishments?
Oh, Kara, that's just such a hard question.
You've done a lot, so I can totally understand that.
Gosh, you know what? Like, I honestly, I don't think I could highlight anyone. Yeah. There, all races have just been so different. I've come at it, they all have highs and they all have lows, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if I could pinpoint anything. I mean, I just try to, when I'm out there, I just try to be in the moment for whatever it is that I'm doing, and to feel all the feels that come with that, and I'm sure at the end of a day, like whether if it was an FKT this past year or something, you finish and you just feel like I gave that everything. That's all I had the day. Oh, that was the hardest thing I've ever done, but you get some sleep and the next day you wake up and then maybe it wasn't really the hardest thing that you ever done, those things.
Yeah. There's so many highs and lows.
There's so many highs and lows. I think I'm just more grateful, just to be able to be out there and lots of opportunities and, to keep exploring. And as long as my body will allow me to get out there, I don't see any reason to stop. So I think it's a lifelong pursuit. And the list just keeps growing. You get inspired by someone else has done some trail or whatever, and then you're like, oh, right, that looks great. I should add that to my list, and down it goes, right? So hopefully it's a lifetime of this.
Yeah, that's why it's important to take care of ourselves now so we can continue doing it forever.
It really is. And I think that's the one thing that I have really been focusing on in the last, couple years is that self-care piece. And I know you and I have had conversations.
Yeah, we've had a lot.
I think my knowledge in that area has just really grown, especially as I work with so many athletes, and I want to see longevity. And I made a lot of mistakes in my early years of racing and adventuring where I didn't give myself the best self-care. I don't think maybe the knowledge wasn't out there as much either, but now with just so much more that we know about, females and keeping the body healthy and hormones and just what this sort of thing, it is hard on the body. I mean, we can't deny that, but what we can do is the self-care piece and adequate rest and the really good nutrition and things that support the body to allow it. So I've become so interested in that side of things. And I just want to keep learning because I want to keep other people safe and avoid some of the problems that I've kind of run into. So
yeah, I mean, we had a ton of conversations around this when we were in Costa Rica running together too. And I think that's a part of being a female athlete that is sometimes pushed under the rug. And that can be a really big barrier too, is females training so hard and then having all these hormonal issues or eating disorders or anything like that, where it's not talked about as much in the women or in the trail running community for women. And it's as long as you're going fast and doing well, that's kind of all that matters. But even for you, knowing that you are a voice for that for a lot of people and trying to start those conversations and being like, hey, like we need to make sure that you are healthy so you can be a lifelong athlete versus having one good race season and all of that. And that's where, yeah, that can be a really big barrier too. So being a voice for that and having those conversations for women on the trail, I think is so important. So
yeah, I totally agree with that. I think there was, I think there's a lot of people that just keep pushing through and ignoring the signs that the body are given. And I don't know if that's just because of chasing podiums or not wanting to show weakness, or always just thinking that more is better. But the more we learn about, like a female endurance athlete, and a female body, you just realize it needs a certain support system, and it is different from males. And to be able to keep doing this stuff for year after year, there's new protocols that should be in place, and you're going to have longevity, but you're also going to enjoy this experience that much more. So I also think in today's world, when everybody puts so much stuff out on social media, and usually it's all just the good, it makes it look like everybody's out there every single day tagging every mountain, like that kind of thing. But realizing that no, not everybody is to start with, but also too that you have to do you, and you have to self-regulate a little bit and figure out what's going to be a really good long-term plan for yourself and the goals that you want to accomplish, and not getting all caught up in just what you see thrown out there into the media.
And definitely, just the sustainability with all of it, for sure.
Exactly.
That's an important piece. So with that, do you have any goals coming for 2021?
Oh boy. Where am I sort of headed? There's a few FKTs that I'd like to go after, that are in BC. I've just sort of settled for the fact that I won't be going international this year. So that's totally fine. So there are some more local trails, a few things on Vancouver Island, of course. For anyone who knows me knows that I love coastal routes, and I love these trails that run along the ocean, and just super aggressive, gnarly terrain. That's kind of probably where most of my focus will be this year. But that said, I'm really just concerned about the few trips that I will be guiding, with the hopes that those will go. And that's where I'll give my energy. And then, we're looking as a family at just some really fun stand-up paddleboard expeditions and some sort of multi-day routes. Norm and I have a couple things we want to do off Vancouver Island together as well, with some loaded boards, and disappear for a little bit and do that. I'm playing this year like pretty neutral, I would say, overall for me. It seems to be what's going to work best.
Oh, that's awesome. And then you said you have your first adventure race with your son too coming up?
Yeah, all going well. We'll tackle hopefully a race in September called the Mind Over Mountain Adventure Race. Yeah, on Vancouver Island together. And that was my very first adventure race, 20 years ago-ish. And so him and I are going to tackle the short course together. So
amazing.
I know.
Oh, that's awesome.
It has been a dream that we'll, do some races together. And so he's pretty pumped. So that fires me up too.
No doubt. Awesome. So I guess just one of the last questions, why do you personally think it's important to have women doing these big running objectives and wilderness trips? And big can be on a grand scale or just a personal, or what's personally big for them. But why do you think it's important to have women out on the trails?
Well, I think you kind of just hit the nail on the head there too, with just saying that like a goal is very individual to each person. And I think just to be clear on that, because, I get excited for the person who comes to me and say, hey, I want to tackle my first 10-kilometer trail race. Just as excited as I am for the person who's like, look, I'm going to tackle a 200-miler this year or whatever, right? It's just all about setting a personal goal and then enjoying that journey and that process. But I think as females, like we have the opportunity to inspire each other, by just getting out there and challenging ourselves. And so I think I think that's just what it's all about. It's just encouraging each other to set a goal, to get out there, to do well or to fail. But it's really, how do you pick up the pieces when things don't go well? Do you get back out there and try again? And I'm just trying to encourage everybody as well to just enjoy the journey. I don't see it as a destination. Even a race date, it's what did you do along that process? Because if you're not enjoying the journey towards something, I mean, you're wasting the days or just sort of going by versus like going with it. I mean, everybody's got these ups and downs and highs and lows and everything like that. And that's all a part of it. That's how we grow as people and as athletes. And so enjoy the journey, or else in a blink of an eye, it's gone. Another week's gone, another month's gone, the years pass by, 5 years is gone, and you want to be enjoying it, right? So I think that's really important, and surrounding yourself with like-minded people, right? Who want to get out there, maybe want to share an experience with you, or are also challenging themselves, but just supportive people. And it can be a great thing, I think.
Awesome. Cool. Well, yeah, thank you so much. I'm really happy that we could chat today with everything. You've definitely just been a huge inspiration. I know for me personally, but for other women getting out on the trails through your own accomplishments, endeavors, through RunBC, what you do. Super grateful to know you and just have this conversation. So I guess with that, for all the women who are watching now, we do want to just invite all of you to apply for our 2021 Adventure Women's Scholarship. So basically how it is we have 3 different scholarships, one for any of our stage race or stage trips, one for any rendezvous, and then we have our Sawtooth Women's Backcountry Alpine Adventure. So applications are open now and they run until March 21st. And based on all the applicants, we select 9 finalists, 3 for each scholarship. And then within that, they can write an essay about what I had just asked you, why it's important for women to get out in these wilderness objectives and running trips. And then we will choose the finalists from there. So you guys can apply today. And thank you again, Jen, so much for joining us. I'm really excited to have these conversations, and especially to have kicked off this one for you. As I mentioned, you've just been a rock star in the ultra running community and a huge inspiration for me. So I'm excited to see what you get up to this year, and I hope that you're able to run all of your trips smoothly. And I wish you all the best.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you guys for just what you're doing for the run community and the scholarships. I'm excited to see, who gets to go on what and how those experiences go for people. And great to connect with you again, Kara. And, you're doing some pretty amazing things yourself. And I just look forward to when I can spend some more time with you and your incredible energy in person. And so I hope that is sooner than later.
Yes, hopefully we can be on the trails together again soon. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks.